Hey there. So summer's kind of winding down again. I was just saying yesterday that I cannot believe how quickly this summer has gone by, but I say that every year, right? But it's winding down. The school year is approaching. Depending on what part of the country you're in, you as a teacher may have already gone back to school. So I think we're kind of in the stage where we're, 3 to maybe 6 weeks from the start of the school year. And I originally planned to do this episode specifically for teachers because I know as so many of you are preparing to dive back into the classroom and your routine, it's rewarding on one hand, right? But it also can be a huge challenge to keep up with your healthy habits or to start healthy habits if that's your plan, because you have such busy schedules. So that was my plan. But the reality is that as I talk to more and more of you, teachers, you're definitely struggling with this. Moms of kids going back to school are struggling with this because you have the same kind of a transition. And moms of kids who are going back to college are dealing with this too. So I think this is really for all females. And I'm going to approach it that way with some information and specific strategies and tips for you. But I'm also going to kind of talk specifically to teachers at some points too, because I was you, and I was the mom, getting back into the swing of things with kids going back to school, whether they be, when they were younger, middle school, high school, and, college kids even. But I work with a lot of women who, in whatever way, teacher or not, this time of year is a real struggle. So I'll first start by saying, my like whole thing, right? Like you've got to prioritize your health and your self-care. I mean, that's absolutely essential, not just for your own well-being, but for your ability to be your best self, for your students, for your kids, for your colleagues, for your friends, for everybody, really. And sadly, I will say I really have seen firsthand the negative impact of neglecting self-care, particularly for females who are over 40, us, the bunch that I work with. In fact, I will tell you, one of my clients, let's just call her Sarah. I've worked with tons and tons of teachers. For some reason, you guys find me and, love to work with me. For one, because I think my 12-week protocol that I have and the MRS program is perfect for you. And I get the struggles that you have. And this is just, such a common struggle for women who are over 40, particularly, like I said, teachers. Back to Sarah. Sarah, dedicated teacher who really was struggling with time to devote to things like, planning some meals and getting some movement and exercise in as she got older and she was over 40, her kids were older, they were involved in a lot of activities, sports, they had jobs that, all the things, right, that our kids are involved in that complicates and makes our busy schedules even busier. And once school started, she told me that within the first couple of weeks, her great intentions of focusing on herself and using her routine to her advantage to help her with, things like having a healthy lunch, for example, she said her plans were shot. And within a couple of weeks, she said she was drained. She always saw some weight gain in the beginning, and over the first couple of months into the fall semester by the holidays, she had really picked up quite a bit of weight and she was just stressed. Like her stress was at a skyrocket level. And so she told me how this was a pattern that happened year after year. And it not only impacted her physical health, but it also really affected her self-confidence and her mood. And as she started noticing perimenopause and menopausal kinds of challenges, things just got worse. It's like a domino effect, right? And so it really took her a long time to realize that her own health and her goals for her weight were not things that should take a back seat to teaching and to her kids. In fact, when she put herself on her priority list and she started working with me in my 12-week protocol, she realized that all of the things that she was being challenged with, her busy schedule, her kids' schedules, the routine and the busyness of being at work in the morning for bus duty and all of those things, after school meetings, she said all of those things actually became much easier. And she was successful in losing weight. And this is a common pattern. It's like it takes you a long time to get to the point where you're so frustrated and you throw up your hands and you say, like, I can't do this on my own. It takes you time to get to that point. But once women get to that point and they come to me and we put a protocol in place for you that really works within your lifestyle, your personal and professional schedules, life just seems to really change. So, hear me on that. And I've had other clients who have faced lots of similar challenges, skipping meals, relying on healthy snacks, grabbing whatever in the, whatever is in the teacher's lounge and then feeling guilty. Like, I know all the things that happen, been there, done that, and have helped hundreds of women in those situations. And so I'm going to give you some tips today that will be helpful to you, but I also want to talk about how, before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about how it's not just about the meal prepping. It's not just about planning ahead a little bit. It's not just about, making sure you get some movement and exercise and taking the time. It really isn't just about the eating well and exercising is the bottom line. It's also about creating this mindset that feeds into an identity of being the healthy person that you want to be. You have to believe that you deserve to care for yourself. And that may sound woo woo and all of that, but it's really not. That is a key to lasting change. When you prioritize your well-being, your health, your weight loss goals, you're not being selfish. You're really doing something that is essential to maintaining your energy, to maintaining your positivity. And those things are required not only for yourself, but they're required for you to be the effective teacher, the effective mom, the effective spouse, the good friend, and be the role model for the other people in your lives. And again, for teachers, that is a draining job. I know society, in our society, our culture doesn't necessarily always look to teachers in the revered sort of way that they should be. In fact, you take a lot of heat. I won't even get into all that, but there's a lot of teacher bashing out there. And I think that's even gotten worse since COVID. But the truth of the matter is that you're a role model for young people at whatever level you teach, graduate students. If you're a professor in college, you're a role model for people who are in all walks of life, who are going to become leaders, who are going to fill all the jobs. So like you have the contact with basically every facet of society. And so I do think that there's an obligation that you have there to not only keep yourself healthy, but to be a role model for all of the souls that you touch in your classroom. So here are some tips that I want you to use to stay on track or kind of get on the right track if you haven't even started. One is you can spend just a little bit of time pre-planning your lunches and your snacks, and that's going to really help you. Now, I want to make clear that I am not a big proponent of doing meal prepping in the sense of really detailed, dedicated, devoted time, like spending Sunday prepping all the meals for your household or for yourself. I don't advocate that. If that works for you, that's great. But for the majority of the women who we work with in our 12-week program, that's just not realistic. Not only do they not have the desire to do that, it's just not necessary for the kind of goals that they have. But there's a difference between meal prepping in that more structured kind of time dedicated sense. There's a difference between that and doing a little bit of pre-planning. You can think about what your weekly schedule is and identify pitfalls or potential pitfalls. Let's say you have an after school meeting on Tuesday this week, and you know that one of your preteens or teenagers needs to get to I don't know, some sort of practice or event, or you're driving them to work or whatever. And so you're kind of in that chauffeur, whatever is going to disrupt or be, a schedule disruptor for you that may be a little more unusual this week. That can be a potential pitfall, right? You have a late meeting on Wednesday, that kind of thing. Okay. If you plan a quick, healthy dinner that you can have ready in just a matter of a few minutes for those days that are going to run especially long, you are way ahead of the game. You can do other things like get some really portable, inexpensive containers for prepping some snacks to take with you. Put a protein, a healthy snack, a fiber source, some mixed nuts, fruit, hummus with veggies, whatever that may look like for you. And you can have some snacks that on those later days, you can grab that instead of, running into QT or, whatever little convenience store there is around where you live and grabbing a bag of chips and a Coke. Those things may seem like simple tips, but they compound over time. If you think about the entire fall semester, and if you cut out even one day a week that you stop at the convenience store and grab a bag of chips and a Coke, and instead you have a healthy snack, even if, and I will say this, I'm kind of like going around in circles about this first tip, but even if when you go into that convenience store, instead of grabbing a bag of chips and a Coke, you grab a bottle of water and go to the refrigerated section where they have snacks, because most convenience stores now are hip to the game. They know that there are tons of consumers, namely females over 40, who want healthier options. And so there are things like cheese and wheat crackers, fruit. There's pre-made hummus or avocado with raw veggies that you can dip. They're prepackaged. Instead of grabbing the Coke and the chips, grab that as a snack. That doesn't take any pre-planning. But if, again, to my point, you make that swap one time a week over the course of the fall semester, I guarantee you will lose weight. It may be just a couple of pounds over those months, but that is a decision and an action that will compound for the good. Okay. So doing a little bit of pre-planning for lunches and for snacks. And let me put a footnote here too. I am creating a resource. It's not ready yet. And it probably won't be ready by the time this episode is released and you're hearing my voice. But I am in the process of creating a free resource that is specifically for teachers, but anybody who wants snack and meal ideas is welcome to get it. If you will send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, that's the best way to get this. You can also email me, but if you will send me a message and say, teacher lunches, I will send you that resource. We're making a list of all the people who want it, and I'll be offering it and sending it out. I'm going to have it ready pretty quickly. Okay. So that resource will be available for you. It is going to be, like I said, it's going to be directed and specifically created for teachers, with teachers in mind, because there are so many of you that I'm talking to in the last couple of weeks who are struggling with this. But any woman over 40, these are great, great lunch ideas and snack ideas for things that you can plan easily, simply, and have on hand at school or any other job that you go to. Okay, so that's doing a little pre-planning of meals and snacks and making a few swaps is my first tip. The second one is to create opportunities for movement and make that part of your routine in a way that you enjoy. You've got to find ways to build in movement and activities that genuinely bring you some enjoyment. Now, that doesn't mean you have to absolutely love it, especially in the beginning. When I started like formal exercise, I hated it. Like, I cannot tell you, you've probably heard stories that I've told before about how I couldn't even touch my toes and I would cry. I would hide when I exercised. I would never, ever exercise in front of anyone else. That's why doing it at home was so ideal for me. But even at home, I wouldn't do it when Roger was home, or I wouldn't do it in the same room with him. I was that embarrassed. but I grew to tolerate it in the beginning. I grew to enjoy the feeling afterwards. I didn't really enjoy while I was doing it, but there's like stages of learning to enjoy movement. And I got to a place where I actually craved that part of my schedule and my routine. I looked forward to and I needed that outlet of my exercise routine. So you're not going to love it in the beginning for most of you, but it can be something that if you start with something that at least you can tolerate, you can build the happiness and the satisfaction with it and potentially even come to enjoy it. Whether that is spending a little bit of time doing very beginning kinds of yoga movements, a quick dance break even in class if you're a teacher, or a walk on your planning period. Get a couple of teachers together who have common planning periods and go for even a 10 or a 15-minute walk. Just do something where you can schedule short movement breaks. Call it a movement snack, if you will, or an exercise snack. It's like a short 10-minute, 15-minute break in your day where you can walk, you can stretch, you can dance. Hell, if you're an elementary school teacher, I used to do this with my elementary kids. We would have brain and body breaks in the classroom. Kids need breaks like that too. So build it into your teaching time. Um, that is not only going to keep you active, but it's also, like I said, I call them brain and body breaks. When I work with clients, they're built into their protocol in a way that they are held accountable for giving their body this kind of a break, but also giving their brain this kind of a break because, and I won't go into the science of that. You'll have to enroll in my 12-week protocol to get all the benefits of that. But seriously, there's a link between those two things. You've got to break up the monotony of the day. You've got to intercept your brain activity so that you can be much more productive, much more refreshed and energized, and be able to go about your day in a more productive way. Okay, so that's breaking up the day and getting some kind of movement in a way that hopefully you enjoy is tip number 2. Number 3, I'm going to say use technology to your advantage. Okay. This does not mean that you need to download a calorie counting app or, some kind of a workout app. That's not what I'm talking about. I'll put several kind of ideas that I will lump under this using technology to your advantage. For example, you can use your notes app on your phone to create lists. Maybe that is a list of things that you want to, like a task list that you want to accomplish each day. Maybe it is a running grocery list when you want to make sure that you have healthy options in your house. There are lots of ways. There's a mindfulness and sort of, it's kind of a meditation, breathing kind of app that I give all of my clients get 1 year of free access to it. It's not an app that I own, but I have a code that I can give you. And if you message me mindful app or message me balance app, and I will send you the code for getting a free year of access to that. But anyway, those kinds of apps that help you to take planned, quick breaks throughout the day, whether it's a breathing exercise or a quick meditation or another kind of mindfulness exercise, whether it is using it to keep track of tasks that you want to accomplish each day toward your healthy habits and beginnings of creating a discipline and a healthy identity, using technology to your advantage rather than to your disadvantage, which is what we usually use this thing for. It is usually not something that helps us, but it hurts us. The doom scrolling, the hours of lost time, the negative brain into, you consume all kinds of negativity on social media. That's how we typically use these things, binging through our email at night instead of getting an extra hour of sleep because we think we have to, answer work emails. I'm talking about using technology in an intentionally productive way that's to your advantage, not to your disadvantage. Okay. That's tip number 3. And there are lots and lots of other ideas that I can give you that relate to technology. Number 4 is being mindful about eating. Now, this goes way beyond simply enjoying your meals, okay? Um, I do encourage you to try to spend some time eating without distractions like answering your email or even being on any kind of a screen technology. Again, this kind of goes hand in hand with the tip before this, but spend at least some time, and teachers, I know your lunch breaks are short, but you can still find a few minutes while you're eating, whether that's on your planning period or that is actually a lunch time that you have, where you focus on your body and how you feel and what you're noticing. That's what I mean by being mindful about your eating practices. We are so bad about eating on the go and in the run that we have disconnected our bodies and our emotions from our mental bodies, our brain and our emotions and the psychology from our physical bodies. And once you get over 40 and you are in perimenopause and menopause, this becomes an even more complicated issue that hampers your health and your weight. You are disconnected from hunger cues, for example. You are unable to know when you're actually hungry, physically hungry. You're unable to know when you are physically full. So after a while, you literally cannot recognize those cues. And what ends up happening is that also interplays with emotional cues for hunger, whether it's reasons that you're eating or you're not eating. I digress and I go off into a tangent here. I hope that's not confusing. But to start to try to get that corrected, which you absolutely have to do if you have weight and health goals, you've got to focus on how am I feeling? How physically do I have a rumble in my tummy? Emotionally, am I bored? Am I sad? Am I happy? When I feel the urge to eat, or am I not feeling the physical urge to eat? Start to become more in touch with those things, and you have to be really intentional about it, like I said, because you've tamped it down for so long. And then again, it's complicated after you get over 40 because of the imbalance in hormones that affect those things too. But if you start with focusing on the flavor of your food while you're eating, focus on things like the texture, focus on the satisfaction that you feel, or maybe the dissatisfaction that you feel from actually consuming the food. When you do that, you're starting to begin to become a little more mindful, and that can help you with things like recognizing fullness cues, recognizing hunger cues that are actual physical fullness and hunger cues. And it can help prevent overeating. It can promote a lot healthier type of relationship with food. And so I don't get all woo about the mindful eating practices like a lot of coaches do, but there is a lot of science behind the physical and emotional connection to food that can be corrected or put on a much healthier path that is also related to your weight and your health after you're over 40. Okay. That's number 4. Number 5 is around goal setting. And I want to tell you, this is a really good time. The fall of the year, whether you're a teacher or not, again, is a really good time to do an assessment of where you want to be, how you want to look, how you want to feel, and setting some really realistic, measurable goals. And what I mean by realistic is something that's not only doable day to day for yourself, but also is achievable. Let me digress here and tell you a little story. This morning, I'm in a lot of groups, on Facebook and other kinds of online platforms. And those are, groups for business owners, they're groups for health coaches. I'm in groups where I'm coaching other business owners. I'm coaching our clients. I'm in, just lots and lots of, health and business related groups. And I oftentimes see women post who do have goals and who want to or who are trying to get healthier and lose weight. And sometimes this isn't even in a group, it's just like people sharing on their news feed, right? My friends or people I follow or who follow me. And this morning I saw a woman post that she'd lost, I think it was 19 pounds in the last month. And she was celebrating that. And of course, a lot of people jumped in and were giving her praise for that and asking her how she did it and congratulating her. And that's all great. That kind of support is wonderful. But back to what she had outlined, 19 pounds in 4 weeks. And I don't know what approach she was taking. Let me just put that out there too. But most likely and most often when I see that kind of thing, women are not doing that in a healthy way. Setting out to lose 20 pounds in or nearly 20 pounds in a month is not something that is realistically achievable. It absolutely isn't. I mean, you can do it. I mean, I know how to do it. I did it when I was in the depths of eating disordered behaviors. I could lose a lot of weight really fast, but it wasn't healthy weight loss. It was not weight loss that maintained muscle mass. And we know so much more about that now that we're over 40. It was not emotionally and psychologically healthy to lose that kind of weight, and it's not weight that you're going to keep off. It absolutely is not sustainable. You'll gain that weight right back as soon as you stop starving yourself or doing whatever, little quick trick fix kind of tactic. So when I talk about goals, I want you to be realistic. Think about the first month of the school year. What is a healthy, doable, sustainable kind of action or steps that you can put in place that will help you to reach a realistic kind of goal for yourself? And I want you to focus on more of an effort goal when you set these goals than an outcome goal. And what I mean by that is, instead of saying I want to lose 5 pounds in the next month or 8 pounds or whatever it is that you want to lose, when you stand on the scale, you want a different number to shine back at you. Instead of that, think about, if you want to lose weight, no matter how many pounds it is, what are the efforts, the actions that you need to take to make that happen, to get that outcome or that result of fewer pounds on your body, losing fat from your body. When you create goals in that way, based on efforts, you are much more likely to achieve the outcome, the pounds lost. Okay. And what it does is it clarifies for you what you're going to actually do each and every day to achieve the outcome or the result of the weight loss, right? It gives you a lot more clarity around what it takes to get there, how to track your progress, and how to celebrate victories along the way, right? So focus on effort goals that are achievable, that are doable, that are measurable, that are time bound. For example, it might be something as simple as, I am going to drink X number of ounces every single day by getting up and making sure I drink at least 20 ounces before I have my first cup of coffee, making sure that I set timers on my phone throughout the day to remind myself to drink. Those are efforts, actions that you can take every single day. And if you set that goal, then by the end of each week, you have drank enough water to be hydrated and actually contribute to the weight that you want to lose. Okay. So that's number 5. Number 6, I want you to really commit to prioritizing your self-care as a non-negotiable. That means that you have to treat your efforts that you outline for yourself, the lunches that you make, the using the technology to your advantage, the mindful eating practices. You have to make those commitments, those appointments, those promises to yourself. You have to make those as non-negotiable as you would showing up to your curriculum team's meeting every Monday morning, or your appointment to get your hair done, or to see your nail tech. Schedule time for those activities that recharge you, that contribute to your goals of being healthier, that contribute to your goals of having a more peaceful life where you make time for yourself, whether that's doing a hobby or reading a book or simply taking time to relax in a bath. Remember, your self-care is about replenishing your energy reserves. It's about you doing things and making an effort to do things that help you to be your best self, both personally and professionally. And so if you don't prioritize those and make them a non-negotiable, just like you do things that that you commit to at work or for your boss or for your kids or for your spouse or whatever, if you don't do that, it will not happen. And bottom line, tough love, but the reality is, if you're not doing that, then you're not serious about being healthy. You're not serious about your weight loss goals, and you're never ever going to get there. Absolutely. So remember, in all of this, with the coming of the new school year, you really can use that to your advantage. Even though you're going to be busier, the stress can ramp up. Make this a turning point, right? Pivot right now and decide that with the close of summer and the beginning of fall, teacher or not, you're going to get on track with improving your health and your well-being. And know that it's a journey. It's not going to happen in a couple of weeks or even a couple of months. You're not going to change your identity, how you act, who you are, how you behave in just a few months. And this idea that it's an ongoing kind of process, it's a journey, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. That helps you to realize too that, I mean, getting healthy is not a destination. It's the act of doing every single day. But I hope that the 6 things that I've outlined for you today can help you to prioritize those practices. So you're not only caring for yourself, but you're constantly setting example for your students, for your family, for your friends. Okay, so this was a little bit longer than I thought it would be. I'm going to close out with just a message to you that let's make this school year the one that you thrive, both in and out of the classroom, so that you really feel good by the holidays get here. You really feel good about the progress that you've made. Okay, so just a couple of reminders and a recap. Send me a message with the word teacher lunches. I think that's what I said earlier. Send me the words teacher lunches, and I will put you on the list to get that ebook resource that I'm creating that has all the healthy lunches and snacks. I'm also including a shopping list for that. So it's gonna be broken down the way I'm doing it now. It's gonna be broken down like week by week, and I'm gonna give you a few weeks of lunch and snack ideas with the things, like I said, the recipes and shopping lists. So you have it like it's all good to go. Just implement it, right? You just have to do it. You just have to act on it. Send me a message for that if you want it. Also, send me the word mindfulness, and I will send you that information to get a year of access to that app for your phone with the mindfulness and the meditations and all of those kinds of that kind of help on that app. So that's a really good resource. So thanks for spending time with me, and I will see you right back here next time.